Sunshine Coast, West Van.
Wherever I am, I
See
start
the
the
sky.
writing with the
See
name
the
of where I am.
Yeah, good plan. Yeah. Where was that place again? Anyway, we've got a little bit of it's a fairly busy agenda here, and we'll see how that goes. Just nice to have you and have a conversation again. Thank you guys for coming over. I'm sorry we didn't have a little bit more time together, but you know,
Okay.
wait the best of
I'm
it.
right back.
Yeah. So if you want to say a couple of introductory things, Pam, and then we'll get on with the
Well, sure.
agenda here.
I'm meeting with every mayor and council in the county. There's 8 municipalities in our riding, and everyone's got a new mayor and lots of new members of council, which is great. I should tell you that all the mayors I've spoken to, including you, have all been super supportive of continuing in this year's budget investment in infrastructure. And it seems to be successful for everybody, so I'd just like to affirm that, and let you know that. We can go through this in any order you want to, based on your priorities. But
I think we're just going to start from the top down, because if we
Okay.
run out of time, we sort of
okay.
prioritize.
But as when Gary picked me up, I said, so did you get the press release around removing Daryl's project? So I'm here to also let you know, I just found out this morning that you're successful in getting $11,000 for the removal.
Wow.
So that's, which might be the first, literally, in BC.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to check my emails, but Gary and I were
Because
meeting with
we're just
bylaws.
having that conversation
Yeah.
this morning.
Yeah.
I said, so that is very
That's
exciting.
Yeah.
I said, you always come with gifts.
But
So is that in the federal press releases, which I should go look at?
Yes, Natasha can send it to you, I believe.
We, Morgan's sending it over to mayor and council.
Yeah,
Okay.
Warren and I will
Great.
send it to you. We just got it this morning.
Oh, that's
Because-
awesome, thank you.
We've taken a couple out, I think, already.
Mhm.
The one in Seymour Bay and that one, and I think we got funding for those, so.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
yeah. so-
Anyway, that's good
That
news.
was good.
Very good.
And you can tell me how things are progressing, of course, with the community center, but I did
Mhm.
send, you saw that I sent that letter.
Yes, you
for
did.
Bob,
Thank
and
you very much.
we'll
That was,
start
that was a
focusing
good
on
thing.
that. Yeah.
And if we're going to go through that, we'll expect the approval of agenda that was done. Everybody recording this, thank you. And Shawnee, do you want to take on the community center thing?
Sure.
I don't mind doing it if you either or.
Okay, you can jump in or?
Sure, I'll jump in, but you go.
So the community center has been progressing. We did submit our grant application for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. And the amount that we requested there was $7.9 million.
Right.
With that, we are going to council next Tuesday to discuss having a referendum to make up a shortfall in fundraising. So that referendum question will be decided by council for next Tuesday, which will mean a referendum before the end of April in order to secure the rest of the funding for the project. And then that'll satisfy the grant eligibility requirements for them securing funding for the rest of the project. We were successful in for about 4 months of a fundraising campaign in raising $1.3 million from private donors locally, as well as another $1 million in a legacy pledge legacy that will be held through the community foundation and will be available either for capital or operating expenses, depending on when that money is able to be accessed. And in terms of the project itself, we are a couple of weeks, I think, away from shovel ready. The construction documents are
Really?
up to 95%. The project is, we're talking about acoustic treatments and theatrical treatments for the performance space, so we're getting right down to details now within the project. And yeah, it's getting really exciting. We have a building permit. So the project is ready to go, and we're excited to hear about funding. And
Okay, so one thing that has happened, just as a kind of learning from experience here, is that the seniors activity center in Seashell just went through a more like a major renovation, but they And it's heartbreaking because they would have gotten it, I'm certain they would have gotten it.
Oh, okay.
But the federal government doesn't tack on money to something in the
It's already in
process.
progress,
No.
yeah.
So we should be really clear on the timing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we can follow up with, Morgan and I will work on this next week in Ottawa for sure. But yeah, I just, like, let me know. what
Yeah,
you-
there won't be anything that will go out to tender before we hear about the grant.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
perfect.
and the referendum, yeah, no, this is kind of, once we're at 95% with the construction drawings, my understanding is that it'll be kind of pens down until we hear about funding.
Poised and ready to go.
Poised and ready
Yeah.
to go.
It makes sense too, the community would wish to know.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
So, well, we can't issue a tender if we don't have the funding.
Yeah, one of the,
So once we get the funding, we're ready to go for the tender.
I guess one of the things that came out is we were tasked with raising almost $4 million for the public in, what was it, 3 months, over Christmas.
Right.
And, you know, these guys did an amazing job fundraising, and it's still ongoing, there's still money coming in. So we're very inspired about it, and, so this was a way to sort of push it back. So we had 30 days or something like that anyway till it.
After
23rd is
submission to
To
submit
secure the
yeah.
funds. So
Third.
if we get third reading, that's it for the referendum, that secures the funds as far as they're concerned and buys us a lot more time. And obviously, if the funding doesn't come through, you know, then things are on different operation, and then we're hoping by the time we get there, that we're gonna borrow $2 million for sure, that was part of the program, but we're hoping by the time we get there, there'll be enough money in the kitty, or, you know, who knows, maybe sell some land or something like that. and
That's
have
another
some more
thing
money available.
that was a really, really strong affirmation and helped attract the federal funding, which is in Lions Bay. They did a referendum for the water
Yeah.
supply and system. And I think the tiny little community, right? And they voted for $2 million. And so to be able to submit a proposal that says, like, they voted on it, they're going out on a limb, it just really helps attract several million from the federal government. So I think you're doing all the right things, we just have to make sure we get them in the right order.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, there's no question about that, we're very conscious of that, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that isn't eligible as far as the cost of the thing, there's a whole bunch of stuff that isn't eligible, and I think we've covered that 100%, so.
Yeah.
You know, and that could be a little
Fantastic.
bit of adjustment at the end, but we're certainly done everything we could at this point in time, and just by delaying it, hopefully we can squeeze in a few more dollars, and we won't have to go to the public for
Right.
so much if they desire.
Right.
Do you have any idea how much was submitted from BC?
How much was
Was
submitted?
asked for and how many people asked?
I just worry about our own backyard, Allison.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, well then, good, but how many asked in total dollars for, you're right.
You know what?
Lions Bay, Squamish.
Yeah, it's kind of a rolling thing. I would say this is probably the biggest of them all at the moment. But also others have been done, like the Gibson's Public Market or.
Yeah, no, I was just saying for this particular intake date of January 23rd.
I don't know. I don't actually think there's a lot else, other than ongoing water and wastewater stuff. From a recreation facilities perspective, this is the only one. There's a little Cooper's Green proposal on the Central Coast, but it's not.
And a small one for Squamish, I think, so.
Well, that's good, because they want to tick off all the boxes. Yeah, absolutely. Any more comments on that? Any more information you need on that? That's just sort of an update, and like I
Yeah.
say, we'll certainly keep you informed of how things go.
Did you send us the actual application?
I believe.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we've sent the PDF of the actual
Okay,
application. Yeah.
great, thank you very much.
And I sent Morgan yesterday, he had asked for some First Nations engagement.
That's right.
Yes, so
That is a-
Morgan
that
has.
is a key piece.
Yeah,
and I know
Morgan
it
has
doesn't
some information
necessarily
about that yesterday.
Fit, easily sometimes, but that's a key criteria.
Yeah, they're certainly, we've certainly reached out, and they're hard to get a hold of.
What about the experience with the library and the art gallery? Do they have any kind of collaboration?
There is
you know,
a
I think-
program at the moment called Knowing Our Place that I believe the Arts Council has
Yeah.
been spearheading, and so they do have a few connections and
Yeah.
have had some engagement with the Squamish Nation, who have been a part of some of their programming, and
And you can just say building.
the hope
on
for
the-
that
Yes,
is
yeah,
that, yeah, the hope is that that would be enhanced within the community center, as well as some opportunities for possible public art and
Some-
possibly some
naming, yeah.
Yeah,
storytelling plaques
a house full.
around,
Whatever.
yeah, view corridors and things.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
those were some ideas that had been talked about at the steering committee level
Yeah, that's important.
to help with engagement and connection.
Did those get into the application, John?
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Great.
Well, that's
Great.
better one you could, I guess.
Good, okay.
Rural staff.
Rural status update.
Mhm.
Maureen, you want to talk about that?
We've been continuing our efforts
Thank you, Sean.
to gain rural recognition for Bowen. Where things stand at the moment is that the last application we made to the Rural Dividend Fund is still under consideration. They haven't announced the recipients of the funds. They'll do so. Current estimate is by the end of February, and we're in touch with Wendy Coe of Flinrow and Rural Development. There also was a survey that Flinrow conducted in late fall into January, and Kathy and I participated in a phone interview with the Deloitte. They were doing research on behalf of Flinrow, and we shared the experience of Bowen Island. And some of the questions in the survey weren't quite a fit because they sort of assumed that we were already eligible.
Yeah.
So the main message that we were trying to get across was that structurally we were prevented from gaining access to those
Right.
rural funding opportunities. And we still don't know whether that report is going to be made public or whether there'll simply be announcements coming up from the minister, but we're keeping an eye on it. And thank you for writing in support of Bowen.
Oh, yeah, and now my understanding, it's the same with Lions Bay. We both
Yes.
have
Yeah.
consideration for this particular fund. Is that the province was reviewing
Correct.
this, right? And we've been trying to find out where is that at. Look, I'm just wondering if you have better luck than us on that.
No, that's where the Deloitte report fits in.
Mhm.
The work that they were doing was to inform decision-making
Right.
by the ministry.
Mhm.
And we haven't heard anything more. I think the expectation, Kathy,
Supposed to be
did we
in
get a
February.
sense of a timeline on it? I don't
For the release of the
recall.
report? No,
No.
no, we were pressuring that, we'd love to see this report be made public.
Yeah.
But no, there was no time frame associated with it.
So it's part of our strategic plan for the coming year to just persist
Yeah,
with that.
sure.
With Flinrow and also with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Yeah. I guess, sort of on a related note, in the recent cabinet redo, we now have a minister of rural affairs, which is something that Canada's rural communities have been pushing for forever. And so that's Bernadette Jordan, who actually, you should write a letter as mayor and council, because Bernadette and I were the partners in the whole derelict abandoned vessels.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
okay.
interesting.
She's from Atlantic Canada,
Yeah.
where their issue is completely different, but nevertheless, because we both had the issue, we were able to be successful. So you could thank her for the derelict vessels work and congratulate her on her leadership of rural communities in Canada.
Man.
And then.
Reminder
that-
that we're a rural community.
That's right, that's
Trying
right.
to be, yeah.
Yeah, and then that way we establish a relationship and I'll follow up with her. But I think that would be a good thing to do.
Fabulous, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that's the other issue. We aren't considered rural
Mhm.
for some of the federal money either, and that's partly because we're part of the metro
Metro.
regional
Yeah.
district.
Yeah.
But it's more than just the gas tax funds, and there's different definitions. Like, when I read through some of the federal stuff, it says anything less than 30,000 or 10,000 population, I can't remember which is considered rural. But then you read something else, and it says, you know, rural communities except for those in, or they rattle off a few regional districts.
Right.
Yeah. And
But I
don't know how it
include
works the
Lions
rest of the time.
Bay, Pemberton,
Pemberton
Bowen
gets money
Island,
that we get, don't we?
Egmont, like we have quite a bit. I position our community as urban and rural.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just really is. And it's quite interesting as an MP because you see the disparity.
Yeah.
You see how rural communities are not as well understood.
Well, one of the things that came forward from the Islands Trust was that a simple way to handle this from Islands perspective is to deem all of the islands in the Islands Trust as rural,
Yeah,
which would make sense.
Or just all
Most
islands in
of them
BC.
are, aren't they?
No, because there are a bunch, half of them are in the capital
Oh,
region
that's right,
district.
capital region, yeah.
Right. Okay, so we'll keep branding ourselves as rural.
Yes, absolutely, that's what it's all about.
But it's
yeah.
interesting, I mean, Pemberton gets way more money than we do.
Well, it depends for what.
Well, I mean, like the gas tax funds.
They're
Oh,
eligible,
I
they're
see.
eligible.
Yes, right,
for-
because
for
And
applying
because
for
they're not
grants.
in, they're considered,
Yeah,
they're
$5
not in
million
metro,
for their
they
tax
get
increase
a
here
whole
based
bunch
on-
more stuff.
They do,
And the gas tax fund got amended a few years back
yeah.
to at least give everybody something.
Mhm.
And I think we get about $55,000, which is
Right.
big money for us.
Yeah.
It's peanut, you know, what Vancouver gets is peanuts for them, but
Right.
at least we're getting something on a per
Mhm.
capita basis.
Mhm.
And with all those ferry cancellations, we're getting more and more rural all the time.
Every hour it
It
goes
gets
by.
worse, it gets worse. Anyway, that would be a big boost for us, and we could certainly use that, there's no question about that.
Okay.
Federal support addressing the municipal infrastructure gap. David, that was your suggestion, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you've done great work on that. I guess I was sort of thinking, okay, going forward, this is really early, but in terms of where we would be in the next election, like where are we looking, there's gonna be pressure about the deficit, pressure about continuing the
Right.
infrastructure gap. Any thoughts about where the party is going?
I'm, as I said, as I opened with, I'm continuing to push for the infrastructure investment. It makes such a tremendous difference
Yeah.
at the local level. I think we're gonna stick with that, frankly, because all we've done now is identify, you know, all the needs.
Yeah.
But I'd be very interested in any other input you have in terms of our priorities. I mean, housing and transportation, we hear over and over and over,
Yeah.
right across the country. And it's quite interesting because the traditional fundamentals of a strong economy have never been better in Canada. Whether it's the lowest unemployment rate in 40 years, best GDP to debt ratio in the G7. Right now, we're the second fastest growing economy after the US, but 2017 we were number 1 in the G7. All of the 800,000 jobs have been created by Canadian businesses. And yet, Canadians say they feel quite anxious about their own personal finances, and there's anxiety around personal debt, and that's something the finance minister has to be concerned about, how close are Canadians to the edge. And then when we break it down further and say, well, what does that make, what's that made up of? Certainly housing is number 1, whether it's a mortgage or rent, doesn't matter. And other costs are in there, like the cost of technology and the internet, which is
Yes.
a big thing that didn't used to be. Costs of insurance, things like this. So you're right, we have to balance that, but to me, it just further makes the argument for investing in communities so that a very narrow tax base that local governments have isn't.
No, it's not adequate.
Yeah, and it doesn't have an undue burden
No,
on it.
absolutely, and I think that's the core of the problem is we're getting a lot of stuff sort of downlifted to us, and we don't have the ability to raise taxes. I mean, we're getting up there to a breaking point, but we're getting all this stuff downloaded on us, and so it has to come. We need help.
Yeah.
You know, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But housing is a big issue.
Yeah, so do you have a plan, what are your, I mean, we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
I guess they sort of hinge on this federal land piece.
No,
Not
not for
really?
us,
No.
because we own all the community lands, but it hinges on the housing. The
CBC,
province has
BC
just
housing.
brought out a bunch of
Okay,
money
I was talking about the new RCMP building in that land, but
Oh,
forget
we
that.
Oh,
don't-
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
But we're not 5,000
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
that's way down the road.
Oh, it's sort of a parallel process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
To
Okay.
what we already have.
Right.
yeah.
So we do have a housing advisory committee that's now established. And as Alison was saying, the province has passed a bill that will require ongoing housing assessments. And the regulations are, understanding is they're currently being drafted and will be public in the spring. When that is in place, they're also planning to provide funding support so that communities actually can do the assessments and do them on an ongoing basis. We have a local nonprofit called Birch. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with it.
Yes.
Benton is the executive director. And Birch has just recently confirmed a $17,000 grant from Van City.
Great.
And it came to council to ask for some additional funding support, which we did not provide, but we have a potential opportunity through the Bowen Community Foundation. They may be able to, through the municipality, provide some additional funding. So where that stands right now is it's estimated as a 20 unit affordable rental project that will be located adjacent and behind the RCMP. And I think Robin is anticipating, can you correct me if I'm wrong here, anticipating getting through the feasibility stage this spring. She's working
Yeah.
currently with City Spaces,
Mhm.
which was that came to council last term and made some presentations, and Robin connected up with her. So that's there.
And are you working with BC Housing?
BC Housing has written a letter in
Yeah.
support of Birch's work
Great.
to go to the next step, which would be to get CMHC funding to move forward on the project. So it's sort of moving forward step by step at this point, slowly. But
Who are you working with BC Housing?
James Forsyth. Yeah. And he's been and visited council several times now,
Yeah.
and has a very good understanding of the various community lands that we have and the potential for housing projects on those lands.
Right, okay. And is there a particular program that the CMHC funding is within, or are you just leaving that up to James to figure out?
To be honest, I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
No, James is BC Housing, so.
I know, but
I don't know,
that's why I'm wondering.
The connection between the two.
there's a couple of people on Bowen that work in this area, one particular one I've been going back and forth with, and I think each funding stream you sort of have to do your own
Piece together.
piece with, so Birch had, I think, has been working with BC Housing because
Right.
they.
Maybe I should give them a call,
Yeah.
just in case, because what we're finding, the whole intent of our national housing strategy, which is a massive investment over the next 10 years, is also to really understand the peculiarities even, or particular
Yeah.
circumstances in communities. So we don't want to make the mistake of having, here's the criteria and you didn't fit it. We
Yeah.
really want.
Really tight
That
box.
flexibility.
Yeah, and we want the application process almost to be a little bit of a back and forth to get it, so that you can get the funding that you need. So there may be no role. It may be already worked out between BC Housing and CMHC, and it's all just fine. I don't know. But I just would hate, our job is to make sure communities understand that we're trying to do new things in new ways, and we don't want people to think it's the way the world was when you just didn't get the application and that's the end of it. In fact, if you don't, then make sure we know, because that opportunity is totally there to make these things work. But I don't know enough about what you're already doing. So Birch is the kind of, is it the like
It's the
managing
non-profit.
the
Yeah.
whole thing?
And last time we met, you
Yes,
expressed an interest
that's
in meeting
right.
with Birch, so I
That's
provided
right.
an
Yes,
introduction with your staff.
that's right, but I
to
haven't met,
Robin.
I have not done that yet, so I have to do it. Natasha, will you remind me to do that? Thanks.
I think that would be a really helpful connection to make. Just because sort of the work is proceeding, it's somewhat at arm's length
Right,
from council.
Yes.
Because many of the funding bodies, they're looking for nonprofits, not
That's
necessarily
right.
municipal governments.
right.
Yeah.
So that piece is ongoing, and I think we'll be getting regular, updates. But I'm sure as well that a phone call to James would not be.
Yeah, we just want to work with
Yeah.
all the partners in this to get it approved, get the money. Okay,
Yeah, I think,
excellent, that's great.
The other piece is that the Grafton Lakelands project went through rezoning, and there are 10 units of affordable home ownership that are a component of that project. And the work is essentially beginning, so the land has been, I guess it's probably still in the process of getting prepped, but that will come up fairly quickly.
Right.
And that's significant for us.
yeah, we hope.
And because of that, we're moving ahead with the water treatment plant,
Right,
Yes, yeah,
right,
because that's where it's gonna go.
right.
Which frees up another piece of land. Anyway, it's just, it's all working together, we're just, just trying to mold all this stuff together. At this point, this council's gonna start up a standing committee on the community lands and go through all the community lands and evaluate them and assess them. So by the time we're finished that, we'll be more able to go in on demand and say, hey, you know what, we need some, say, family housing, multiple 2 and 3
Right.
bedroom housing, where could that go? And then we just look at the plan and say, hey, here it is, here. Put it in an RFP, get somebody to come in and just do it. Get it away council's hands. We shouldn't be developing. So that's in progress. The other thing I did want to mention is the asset management, and of course, obviously, we're proceeding with our asset management plan, which is huge. And there is some funding for that, but that's a big part of community debt these days. It's huge. It's, people haven't been preparing for it, so it's a big issue.
Right, right.
All right, so,
There's nothing new coming down the piece for federal housing.
Pardon me?
CMHC isn't doing anything new or any new programs or grants or anything we've heard of.
Well, we're actually trying to kind of make it more of an innovative and engaged entity. It became fairly moribund over 30 years, not just looking at one particular government, but just generally. And we feel that it can play a much more proactive role and be better funded and all those kinds of things. But that's your early, had the strategy for a year. Now it's when it's starting to take shape and roll out. And we have to do the same thing with CRA, the same thing with StatsCan, the same, a lot of these agencies have been just cut and cut and cut. And people are demanding more complex information from StatsCan. It's actually quite exciting
Yeah.
to see how much people do really value the data and want to pay, to be able to get it. So.
No, it's useful.
well,
And I'll certainly put my word in for the CRA and a tax review.
Yeah.
Having dealt with them, it just takes too long to deal with things.
now these next couple items here were Sue Ellen's, I think she put them on. Would you speak to those, Maureen? The environment and marine protection?
I could speak to
Items and
what's in
Kenny's.
the draft strategic plan.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
Allison could speak to the house sound item. Would that be okay?
Oh, then Ocean Lodge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in the final stages of pulling together our strat plan for the coming year. And there's a section that deals with community resilience, and the items, and Dave, you might want to jump in as well. The items there are that we want to look at embedding conservation development principles into our planning processes. And there'll be more about that coming out to the community once this is accepted. We've got a climate action program that's underway One of the key things that we would be looking at there has to do with, I'm just thinking in terms of environment and marine protection. I'm not quite sure at this point.
The house on the watch or something like that.
We've got a site alteration bylaw that we need to complete. This, but been on the agenda for a couple of years now. It just needs to get done. Looking at industrial scale logging and continuing to oppose that. And that's complex, to say the least. And then I guess the last item is exploring the potential for regional park expansion. The Metro Regional Park listed on the Parks Committee, and one of the things that was accomplished by the board and the committee last term was a significant increase in the budget for park acquisition. So they are looking across the region and identifying areas that are of particular interest because of the ecological value, intrinsic ecological value, but also in terms of filling gaps in the park profile. And Bowen is a very strong candidate for filling some of those gaps, just because we have so much untouched land over here. So that discussion is ongoing. It would make a big difference if we were able to get a higher degree of protection for our crown lands and also potentially expand the parks. Want to add anything, Dave?
Sure, I'll add a bit about climate change, because I sit on the Climate Action Committee for Metro Vancouver, and I've also worked on climate change issues here for many, many years. And most of about 90% of our emissions are from transportation. We don't have big industry, and we don't have natural gas here for heating and so on, so it's transportation. And obviously the work that the federal government has done along with the province on transportation and climate action generally has been enormously appreciated. One of the tricky things about transportation though is it's like Metro Vancouver now has the tools to actually move forward on transportation, which is fabulous. But for us on Bowen, we're just a little tiny pocket over in the far corner. And for us, it's the ferry is really important. And there's been a fair bit of talk on the island to try to electrify, turn that into an electric ferry or move into an electric ferry. And you know, that's again a provincial issue, obviously, through BC Hydro and also the province. But you know, the potential.
Have you worked with BC Ferries on that at all?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we've had conversations with them and we continue to, but there's some concerns that they raise about getting the required amount of electricity down into Horseshoe Bay. And then the cost of retrofitting our current ferry would be better off having a new ferry. But then you don't want to ditch this ferry before its life. So there's all kinds of issues around that, which are real issues.
Right.
But also looking at BC Ferry's overall climate plan, and there's been some talk in the community comparing it to Washington State's ferry climate plan, which is quite significant. But we know that there is some work by BC Ferries on this, but you know, there's some pushes and pulls around that. The transportation, it's also improved bus service on Bowen is critical. But again, that's you know, the metro or transit issue.
Right.
Because we've got, you know, we have a bus service for part of the island, but not all of the island. We've got a whole bunch of our community lands that Gary talked about. It's got parking lots on it, land that's worth a few $1 million bucks, and
Right.
cars sitting on it. And you know, we have to do something with that land. If we take the parking off, then where do people park?
Yeah.
And unless you have better bus service, you have to have parking. So we've got an array of transportation issues that are all kind of bundled tightly together. The money that the federal government is putting into this is really important. The work on climate change is really important, but there's some edges of it that we have to work on quite hard. So
We could sure use your ongoing support in that fight too. I mean, as premiers have changed across the
Yes.
country, it's just
I know. Oh, you know,
brutal.
I know, no, it makes me depressed every day. Look at what's potentially happening.
Well, the BC throne speech came out yesterday.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
it was positive about
Yeah.
moving forward with Clean Air BC or
Yeah.
Clean,
Yeah.
clean,
Clean BC.
Yeah.
Well, I thought there was a Clean Air BC reference in there. Anyhow, it was late last night when I was reading the whole thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've put in and committed to no vehicles will be sold in BC after, is it 2040?
Oh.
40, I think it is.
That
Wow.
are not electric.
Paper on.
Yeah.
So, you know, that that means huge infrastructure
Right.
demands
Yes,
and getting,
well
charging
Yeah.
hydro lines and everything. And BC Ferries, when they're building their new ships, they are being built in such a way that they can be fully converted
Yeah.
to electricity once but
Right.
there's no hydros charging facilities at in
Right.
the little terminals.
Right.
And theoretically, in their fleet plan, they could look at redeploying our boat somewhere else and getting us the
Mhm.
next new one, but they've got such an aging fleet that they've got to rebuild
Mhm.
some of the little stuff on the other side of the code first.
One other area I'd like to talk about on climate that's important is adaptation.
Mhm.
And because it's sort of been ignored to a fair degree, but all of a sudden everybody's realizing, oh, things are changing. It's getting hotter and drier in the summer, and there's issues around fires and so on. But the other one is sea level rise and floods.
Mhm.
So we've actually got some potential work we can look at sea level rise here, as we've just been sharing. But not so much for Bowen, but I'm on another committee for Metro Vancouver, and this is the Fraser Valley, the Fraser Basin
one.
flood
Yeah.
Right.
flood
mitigation.
strategy mitigation, and
Yeah.
it's like so the Fraser Basin Council has done some analysis of the cost of the floods from both water coming down the Fraser and sea level rise going up, and it's astonishingly high. So there's going to be a workshop on that pretty soon. I think in May, I believe it is. I think it's April or May, and the issue will be funding. Obviously, funding has to be coordinated well. There's no point building dikes here and not building there. And we've got to figure out, who can pay for funding, who can pay for dikes, and then what about lands that you allow to flood? Because some might just really not be, like how do you handle the compensation, and all kinds of really difficult issues are going to come up in terms of adaptation. So,
There's a lot of changes.
We don't have too many that are in the low-lying category.
No.
Like we've got obviously our terminal right here.
Yeah.
Would be a problem after a while. I've seen some of our high tides are getting,
Getting too
Pretty high.
Some of
Yeah.
the tides are, yeah.
yeah.
And other just little things like, in the last couple of weeks, we've had incidents with the outflow
Right.
wind, and of course, they've shut down the ferries. Now,
Mhm.
with that also comes along a whole bunch of trees down, so we can't get hydro crews over here.
Right.
So now it's a whole different change. That's the first time in
Really.
history
Yeah.
that that's ever happened, where we've had the two in the middle at
Yeah.
once. But it's gonna become commonplace.
Wow.
That's just a new thing. It's part of the climate change.
Mhm.
And so it's just something that we're gonna have to be aware of, that we doesn't even on the radar.
Right. Yeah.
So-
The good side of all the trees down is everybody's got a good supply.
Lots of firewood. Yeah, so don't pass legislation. Yeah.
Here's another adaptation thing that's just came up the other day, and this is on the Climate Action Committee, is one of the things that they're looking into is the contamination of the water from forest fire ash and fire retardants.
Yeah.
And can your treatment plants handle that stuff? And, we've got a new treatment plant coming in, and so Metro Vancouver is doing some new research into exactly how bad is this problem, and can their existing treatment plants handle it? We don't know the answer, but these are new, unexpected and kind of crazy things.
And we've had a lot with the rising waters. I mean, there's a debris trap on the Fraser,
Mhm.
but there isn't one on the Squamish River.
Mhm.
And the stuff that's been coming and floating around,
Yeah.
and the size of the stumps, that one down in Eagle Tree is humongous.
Yeah, another thing for fisheries and oceans is, somebody sent me a picture now, because of all the destruction from the winds,
Yeah.
all the docks that got wiped out,
Mhm.
the styrofoam levels
Uh-huh.
in
The stuff that's
water,
floating
just
around.
absolutely
Oh, yeah.
The interesting things we're seeing.
So I
on
don't
the
know if
beach.
that's a fisheries, Coast Guard, I don't know. But
Well, there's Ruth Simons, you
Mm,
know
yes,
Ruth?
yeah.
She was in the office this morning, and they're putting together a group of like about 16 people. They're gonna meet at the DFO lab in West End,
Oh, yeah,
just to
good.
talk about
Yeah,
the storm and particularly styrofoam, but all the plastic, everything.
yes.
That may be part of this Howe Sound Ocean Watch group, because I think Ruth's part of that, and that came out of the Howe Sound Forum.
Yes, it's really.
And the work the aquarium was doing and
Mhm.
all of that stuff, so.
So
Sue,
the leading edge work on plastics in the
Yeah.
ocean is happening now out of that
Yeah.
lab in West
Yeah.
End.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the forum is meeting there now, like it's
Yeah.
really, so, that, I didn't really realize that there's no debris trap on this pond.
As far as I know, there isn't, but
Right,
Yeah.
Mm.
How much
Remember
was that
fighting
first
for
one?
the debris trap?
One
on
oh
Oh, the
Fraser?
funding
Yeah.
we're getting.
The debris
One
trap on
time.
Fraser was neglected for years, and we had to
Another-
all
another
work
5
together.
years.
Yeah.
We fought for that.
Nothing ever really changes.
Yeah.
No.
What goes around comes around.
That's right.
Okay.
We did have, I don't know, the Ocean Watch, of course, we sort of
I
touched
think
on
we've
that.
gone
in
through
the
that.
Spatial guide, which
Well,
I'm,
this is all the
no
work
idea
that's
what that
being done
Yeah.
through the
Okay,
House Sound
good.
Forum and the House Sound Ocean Watch and trying to,
Yeah,
then the marine planning and everything, so.
yeah, it's very
The
good.
next House Sound Forum is set for, we gotta save the date.
End of April?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's in April.
One
So
interesting
hopefully-
proposal on the marine
yeah.
side is actually a marine atlas, an underwater atlas.
that's what the spatial guide is, I
I was
think.
wondering
Is
if
that
that's
what
what it
that
was.
is?
Oh,
I
that's
think
cool.
that's what that
I
is.
know, it's a
Yeah.
really interesting idea,
Wow.
like, where the glass sponges and
Yeah.
and so on,
Yeah.
it's really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is a proposal that's out there, I don't know any more than that.
It's,
No.
I believe it's being supported.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was discussed at the last
That's that
House
Garrison
Sound
guy,
Okay.
is it?
Forum, and
I know Bob Turner.
municipalities,
We've all
Bob
kicked in
Turner's
some money.
involved.
municipalities signed
Yeah.
it on to provide some
Oh, is that
financial
right?
support.
Okay.
And there's a local group doing the Bowen piece,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
my understanding, so it's underway.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
Good.
Any more word
See?
on our passenger ferry?
What you can do in 2 hours, you can do in
I
one.
don't know.
That's a provincial thing.
What ferry are we talking
We
about?
want-
That, passenger ferry, I know,
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it's
we
kind of the last we heard that, they won't be reassessing, I
No,
guess it's
that's what
TransLink
it
or
is.
Well, we
BC
wrote to
Ferries
TransLink, but
for
I
2
haven't
years.
heard
TransLink did the assessment a bunch of years, about
a
a dozen
bunch of years ago. I've got
Yeah.
all the old reports and,
Yeah.
and it's just, the subsidy per passenger was going to be
Yeah.
almost,
It's
the initial one was
Right.
double what the West Coast Express was, and it
Right.
was,
Yeah.
it was humongous.
Yeah.
But those are more provincial and regional transportation, but, TransLink, Mayor's Council's putting together a package
Yeah.
of, things that they'd like to encourage people to pass for the,
Who's on transit for you? Are you
Gary is, but
Oh,
I'm his designate, so.
Transit.
And they're redoing the regional transportation
right.
strategic plan, so that public consultation and everything is coming out on that, but,
Good.
and the funding is. A few questions have come up about the source of the line or the direction of the line to Surrey and Langley, but
How
other
about
than
you,
that.
DC, same thing?
How about the B line in West Van?
Yeah,
yeah.
All anyone's talking about.
Well, you're gonna have to give up your parking on the streets, that's all.
But
Yeah.
that would be a big boon to us, that beeline in
Yeah.
West Van from 15th on, because it makes the 257
That's right.
so much better.
That's right.
And
Yep.
for people to just get out of West Van if they have to go along and take the 250,
Yeah.
just to get it going.
Yeah,
so.
and getting to the North Shore from here is really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, no, I know.
So how are you getting back down to the?
I don't know,
I'll try to-
I'm
I'll
hoping
try
to
to
get your ride with the
Oh.
mayor.
I'm right outside if you don't, are you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you cleaned your truck?
Well, I
Gosh.
cleaned the